Welcome to the Houston Minority Business Development Agency's virtual Subs and Sandwiches webinar. Today we have Dr. Porscha Jackson from the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity presenting, and we're excited to see what they have to offer. I am Marshette Turner-Ray, and I serve as the director of the Houston MBDA. Of course, I have my team members, Ms. Diedra Sutton and Ms. Jessica Vasquez here. Our Subs and Sandwiches is one of our signature programs, and we are always eager to hear from you about the opportunities that await you. And of course, we hope you're taking advantage of these opportunities as they are presented to you by our various speakers on a monthly basis. So before we jump into our presentation this morning, you should know that during today's webinar, all attendees will remain in listen-only mode. There will be Q&A at the end of this session where my team and I will be asking Dr. PJ, as we affectionately call her, the questions that you all type into the chat. So don't be shy, please utilize that chat feature. Also, we want you to note that this presentation is being recorded and will be made available to all registered participants. And yes, we will include the link for Dr. PJ's presentation. So you will receive that as long as you are registered for this session today. So now we want to prepare our hearts and minds to receive and hear from Dr. Porscha Jackson from the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity. Dr. PJ, take it away.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. And thank you, Marshette and everyone on the MBDA team for inviting me to share this information with you all. So I'm excited to be here and to talk about how to do business with the city, plus certifications. And so folks, feel free to, after this session is over with, of course, you'll be able to ask questions afterwards, as stated. But if you have questions tomorrow or next week that come up, please feel free to connect with me. My information is there on the slide, and that QR code will take you directly to my LinkedIn page, and I'd love to chat with you about a lot of different things that's going on. So we're going to dive right into it. So the Office of Business Opportunity. Our office is a department with the City of Houston, and we are charged with being the advocate for small businesses, especially those that are owned by historically marginalized firms. And so we want to make sure that those folks can compete, not just on city contracts, but in general here in the Houston area and beyond. So our office has four main facets. That's our OBO Solution Center, which is you could call in if you need help and guidance on finding those permits that you may need for your business. You want to be connected with a mentor, connected with various resources. We can help you there. We are also the certifying agency for the City of Houston, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. We have a contracts compliance division, which helps folks who, anytime that our certified firms are working on City of Houston contracts, that division is ensuring that everything is going appropriately according to that contract. And then we have our business development programming, which also extends into helping individuals find jobs as well. And so our business development programming focuses on businesses who just are starting out, and even folks who just have a business idea with our Liftoff Houston Business Plan competition, taking it all the way to folks who have been in business for quite some time, and they're at that maybe $1 million level as far as annual revenue, and they want to take it up a little bit higher. And so that's the range of how we help folks with our services. And so today I'm going to go in and we're going to talk about how to do business with the city. We do have a new website for folks who haven't been there lately. It rolled out in December, so I'm going to show you some slides on that. And then we're going to talk about certification and the role that plays in with the city and how we do help marginalized firms. So when we talk about the procurement process, this is basically it, right? It looks easy, but there's a lot of steps that we may have to go through. And so we're going to break these down. So at the top, you see that vendor registration and update. It starts and begins there. You must be a registered vendor with the City of Houston in order to do business with us. Do you have to be certified? Absolutely not. We'll talk about the role the certification plays a little bit later, but you must be a registered vendor with the City of Houston. After you are a vendor with the city, then you want to search for those bids. You see that in that next box. Then there's talking about a pre-bid conference so basically if you see a bid that you're interested in, and even if you say, you know what, I can't do all of this, but I can do some of it, you still want to attend that pre-bid conference, because that's one, your key to ask questions about that solicitation before you submit your bid package if you want to be the prime. Or two, if you're interested in being the sub, that's your chance to also ask questions, but also to network and see who are the potential primes in the room, because you want them to add you as a subcontractor to their submission, their bid submission. And that's one thing I want to make sure that we reiterate here, is that if you're coming in on the subcontractor level, the city does not award subcontracts, right? You have to be on the bid for the prime that receives that contract. So the primes hire the subs. And so just keep that in mind. So you always want to be in that space where you are networking with prime contractors, potential prime contractors, if you're in the subcontracting space, so that you can be added on those bids. Once you do go to the pre-bid conference, then it's all about submitting that contract bid and then the award. And so I always tell people, one of the things you want to utilize is, because we are a government agency, everything is public. So if you do go out for the bid and you are for the prime contractor and you don't make it, take that time to follow up with that buyer and see and ask for a debrief meeting. Also, take the time to ask for the winning bid and see, compare it to what you've done, or even if you haven't bid yet, take that winning bid and then study it. You can always go to various different business organizations like MBDA or Apex Accelerator and say, here's a bid that I really wanted to do, or really I think speaks to me. How can I prepare myself for this for the next time that it comes up, right? So those are just some things to do. And that speaks to that research button that you see in the middle. It's always good to be in the research space, because this is a game that you must have patience, but also you want to be proactive opposed to reactive. And so that's just another way for you to do your research in the middle of this, basically the cycle that you see. And then of course you have, after the contract award, it's time to perform, it's time to get paid. And then it takes us back up to that top box where now we want to make sure that we update. And that is important, because anytime your NAICS codes or NIGP codes change, you want to make sure that you keep an accurate and current file for your vendor registration, because that will also affect how you receive bids and also how you're able to be awarded on those contracts as well. So when we talk about the City of Houston contracts, now we know the procurement process. Now, what types of solicitations are available for us? So here we have it here. There's 4 different types of solicitations that you can do business with us. The first one is anything that's $3,000 or less. And we use a P card, which just is fancy for procurement card, which just is fancy for a credit card. Here, you're not going to see anything less than $3,000 that's up for public bid because of the amount. So this is where you want to have a relationship with the various different departments to know what, anticipate the needs that might be coming up, so that you can know about those and they can just pay you with the credit card. There's nothing you would have to fill out, right? Because you're already a registered vendor. So they can just call you up and say, hey, we need a couple shirts for some new employees, pay you with the credit card, and we're done, right? You deliver those shirts and we're done. So that gives you opportunity. I know that not everybody has the capacity for their business to do anything less than $3,000, but for those who can, that's another option and another way for you to do business with the City of Houston and to start out and really cultivate those relationships with the departments as you move up and grow your business. The next section is informal bid. So that's anything above 3,000 and less than 50,000. Now, some of these you will see up for public bid, and some will be, again, that relationship that I discussed earlier when we talked about the P card, right? So informal bids will be listed for the most part publicly on our bidding website, which we're going to get into in just a moment. And so there you will see the opportunities that are available. This is a great way. If your business allows for you to do business less than 50,000, a way to get your foot in the door, a way to get some contracts underneath your belt and understand how the city works as far as when we are awarding contracts and doing business with us. And so you can look there. I always give the example, what has happened before is, I think it was around August, they'll be looking for a Christmas tree for the mayor's celebration. So it was an informal bid that was listed publicly for someone to provide a Christmas tree. So it's things like that that are easier ways and less complex than our formal bids in order for you to do business with the city. So it just gives you a range. And so our formal bids are anything $50,000 or more. And so those bids you are definitely, without a doubt, going to see listed publicly, and it's going to look, letting you know the scope of work and in detail of what we are looking for. It's always important to know that when we get to this level, it's not about let me present to the city and tell the city what they should be buying from me. It's more of us saying, this is what we want to purchase. So whoever is able to or interested in providing that product or service to us, put in a bid for it. And then you're competing with folks, not just in Houston, not just in Texas, but you're competing with folks all over the world who are trying to do business with the city. And so that is our formal procurement process. And then we reach the last one, which is our RFP, request for proposals. And that's going to be for our folks who have professional services, where we're going to ask for you to, it's based off your expertise. So keep in mind now with the formal bids and the RFPs, those are going to be the contracts that can potentially have contract goals on them. So when we talk about contract goals, that's going to be, it may be a construction contract that's $1 million. You may see a contract goal of 34%. That's where we come into the subcontracting part and the certification part that we'll pick up a little bit later. Okay. So now you see that these are the types of solicitations that we have. So let's go to now, how do you find those solicitations, but also how do you register to be a vendor, right? Because we're still at that top of that circle that we saw earlier. So you're going to go to this website, houstontx.gov/bizwithhugh. And so if you've been a city vendor before, you know that the page got a makeover. It looks real good, but some things have changed. So I want to make sure that we point these things out to you so that you're aware of these changes and also how to navigate this site, which will include everything you need to know about doing business with the city. And so this is issued through our strategic procurement division. Now, this is a division that is the buying division, right? These are the folks that buy on behalf of the city of Houston. So when we're talking about those informal bids, when we're talking about those formal bids and the RFPs, this is the site and this is a division that handles that. And so you can see here, when you come to this, again, where the red arrow is pointing, that's where you'll go to register. Keep in mind, because this site was up, is new as of December, if you have not visited since then, we have switched to the new system, hence the new look. So if you're already a City of Houston vendor, you'll need to still go to that box where that arrow is pointing, but do not re-register to be a new vendor. You're going to have to send an email to where you see it says web account questions, Houston purchasing at houstontx.gov. You'll need to send them an email and let them know that you are already a city vendor, but you need to be moved to the new site. And they will send you a link in order to transfer that over. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. If you've never been a vendor for the city of Houston, then you're going to be a new supplier, new user, and you're going to click that link. If you've already been a vendor, then you're going and you have not transitioned to the new platform, then you're going to send an email to that email address you see there below so that they can send you a link to transfer you over. Okay. So we'll go to the next slide, which shows exactly what I said. So see, Ariba existing supplier logon, that means you've already been a City of Houston vendor. And then if you've never been one, then you'll click on that new supplier registration. And that's where you're going to complete your profile. You're going to identify your NIGP codes, right? So all the codes that identify with what product or service that you offer, you're going to add those to your profile. And this is what you're going to use to keep updating to make sure that we have the accurate information from you. And also, whenever there's an actual solicitation that corresponds to your NIGP codes, you'll get that email as well. All right. Okay. So next, we have what it looks like. You'll have your login. And with your login, this is where you're going to submit the bids. All bids are done electronically. So you'll go in here, you'll log in, you'll be able to see the bids, but you'll also be able to submit any of the bids that interest you there. And we'll go to the next one. And this is where you can actually search the bid. So where that arrow is pointing. So what I'm doing is showing you what it looks like if you don't log in, but if you just want to go to the regular page, you'll see that box right underneath supplier registration, bid search. This is where you can search for all of the bids, the current bids that are out there. And it will appear just as you see under search results. And at this time that this was done, which I believe last week, there were 257 bids that were out there. And so you can search these bids, and I'm gonna tell you, this new system is different, you know. So when you see like the RFQ, not everything is going to be a RFQ. Just pay attention to what's in blue that's hyperlinked. That's what you want to look at, because that is telling you if it's actually an RFP or it's a best value bid. So that little star and then the whatever is there, don't pay that any mind, but pay attention to what's in blue, and you'll be able to click on that hyperlink in blue, and that will take you to the next page, which will detail that particular bid for you. And so this just gives you an example. If we were to click on one of those, what it would look like. And so there you see the yellow button. You'll be able to respond to the posting. You can also favor it, so it'll be on your watch list underneath your profile, but it will give you all the different types of information that are associated with that bid as you see at the bottom. So you can see it for this one. There's the information about the pre-bid conference, there's a sample contract, and all the various attachments and letters that are associated with that bid. You can look at those, download those, and that will help you to decide if this is what you want to pursue. And again, you'll see at the top or somewhat in the middle, the public posting where you can get the full version of what that solicitation looks like. So if we just were to click on this one, then it will bring us to the next one where it looks just like this. So this will give you, this is just an example of what some of those solicitations, once you click into those attachments, what it looks like. And so when we're talking about doing business with the city, you'll see there that there's a pre-bid meeting. It lets you know the solicitation date. And of course, because it's electronic, if it says 4 p.m., submitting it at 4:01 is not going to get you the bid. It's going to get you disqualified. So you want to make sure that every single time that you are getting your bids in on a timely fashion. And then you also have the contact person. So any questions that you have regarding that bid, you want to make sure you reach out to whomever is the buyer that's listed on that bid. But also pay attention to it, because there is a no contact period. So you can't contact that person or anyone here at the city to ask about that bid, because that could also disqualify you. And then as you see, it has a project summary for it. It has the NIGP codes that are associated with it, which means in your vendor profile, you got to have those codes in order to be able to bid on it. But then it'll also let you know if there's a goal on it. And so in this example, there is a 4% MWBE goal. And these solicitations will give you every single detail about this particular bid. And it's important that you pay attention to the detail, because everything is so competitive. If you miss out on something and the other person who you're competing with has it, that can give them the advantage because you didn't include that certain part of information that was asked for. So There's also other ways that you can do that research. And as we move through, because think about that circle that we showed you. So we talked about the vendor registration, we talked about the bid search, we touched on the pre-bid meeting and so now we're moving into the contract, submitting the bid. And you can see right there on the same website that we've been discussing is the supplier forms. And this is what that page looks like. So all the forms that you would need to complete for any of the solicitations is here on that page. And you can see what's listed there. That bid is going to detail out what forms are needed, and then you can just also access them from this page. And so we'll move to the next, and here you'll see more information for you. So completing that circle, of course you'd have to submit the bid, right? And then if you get the bid, then it's about the performance, and then about the payment. And then here's where we go back into that middle part, that research that I touched on a little bit earlier. So here's where you can really dive into the research and knowing what you want to know, what's coming out, right? I always tell people in government procurement, the winner is going to be someone who's proactive. You shouldn't be waiting just for the bid to come out. You should be knowing the pattern. Like, I know the city every year, I've done my research, every year this particular bid comes out, or every 2 or 3 or 5 years this particular bid comes out. You want to know how much we're spending, right? So you always want to be in that mode of researching that you're expecting something to come out and not that you're waiting to come out, right? And so this is what can help you. So on the same page, that in the same website, the houstontx.gov/bidswithhugh, these are just some ways that you can tap in to get that research. You'll see one that's circled there on my left is archive solicitations. So this is a way for you to research those past bids that have been put up so you can study those patterns, know what you're looking for is one, the pattern, right? How often is this coming out? Two, you want to know who's the buyer. So if you have any questions, you can tap into that buyer and email them and find out more information about it. So is this really going to be renewed this particular year? I see that it's the pattern that this solicitation comes out every 5 years. Is that the same plan? Those are some of the questions you can ask them. Also, you can see what is being asked so that you know that you're prepared for that solicitation when it comes out. So just think about those things as you're looking through those archive solicitations, and also what department is actually utilizing or seeking that product or service, because then you know if you see HPW on everything that you know is of interest to you, that's Houston Public Works. So that lets you know that's a potential client for you. So anytime you hear that they're going to be somewhere, then you need to be in the place where they're at, right? And then on to my right, there's a procurement plan. So then you can see the plan of what the city is interested in buying for that particular fiscal year, right? That's always going to help you. And then at the bottom, you have the open records request. And so that's what I was talking about earlier when I mentioned that you can ask, okay, so can I see a copy of the winning bid? That's how you would access that, is doing an open records request. And they will send you that information. Of course, they're going to eliminate some of confidentiality information, and demographic information they can include and share, but you will get the gist of what they put in that bid, so you can study that and also to do that part on your own and seek the help so that you'll be prepared for it at the next time that it comes out. So now, just to recap, when we talk about researching, it's the buying departments for the city of Houston. So all the slides that we've been seeing so far, the website pages, again, that's our SPD division that I explained earlier, in their role in handling all the procurements for the city of Houston and buying them. They're also in charge of the payment process as well. But we have 3 other departments that are the main buying departments for the city of Houston. We have the General Services Department. So that department handles all of the city buildings and grounds. So we have about 22,000 people that work for the city of Houston and 22 departments, and we're all spread out over Houston. And so General Services is managing all of those various buildings. So what they're going to be putting out, of course, are construction contracts. They're going to be putting out things related to utilities for those buildings, because they, maintain them, as far as, and think about whatever it takes to maintain a building, to clean it, to make sure the grounds are taken care of. All those things are going to come from general services. Furniture, think about all those things, and that's what they handle. So then we have Houston Public Works, which is our largest department, and I want to say it's the third largest public works department in the nation. And so those are the folks that you see doing the construction on the roads out there, the drainage systems, the water bills, all that is Houston Public Works. So that gives you an idea of what they're asking for and what they're seeking to purchase the products and services. And then we have the airport. So we have 3 airports, right? We have Bush and we have Hobby, and then we also have Ellington where the spaceport is. So all the different opportunities that are available with them, including concessions, and that is any of the retail space that is held in any of the airports. So think about the restaurants, the different kiosks, Victoria's Secret, all the retail shops and makeup shops and convenience stores that you see in the airport. All those things go out for bid. So this just gives you an idea of the major buying departments and then also an idea of what the city purchases. But what I tell people to do to really get into, own into what the city purchased, take your typical city employee and break down what they need. So one city employee that might be familiar with everybody is HPD, right? Houston Police Department. So what would that employee need in order to do their job, right? So they have uniforms. We're not making uniforms here at the city, so we would have to purchase those. All the different supplies that they need in order to do their job. Their cars, those cars need maintenance. They need decals. They write tickets, right? I haven't had a ticket in a while, so I don't know if they went electronically yet. But if they're still writing paper tickets, we got to pay for the paper, right? For those tickets to happen. So just take that and break it down, and that will give you an idea of all the different things the city would buy that might exist outside of these major buying departments that you see. So now I'm going to transition over to certification. And so we talked about how to do business with the city, and you do not have to be certified to do business with the city. But what happens and what role does a certification play in that? So earlier, I touched on the goals, the contract goals for the contracts that you might see for the city. So I can tell you we have products, services, and constructions, right? So construction is going to have typically a standard goal of 34% for $1 million contracts and above. For professional services that we talked about earlier, so that's anything that is going to require a professional license in order for you to do that job. So think about legal services, think about areas like plumbing or architecture and engineering. They'll have a 24% goal over 100,000, and then you have goods and services, which will be 11% goal. And so what that means is that when that goal is there, we'll just take the 34% on $1 million contract. Whoever is the prime has to subcontract out that 34% to a city certified firm. And so here you will see the certifications that we issue out. And I tell people we do 6 and a possible. For anybody who plays spades, you know about the possible, right? So the possible is the hub certification. That's not our certification, that's the state certification. But if you get a MW or S or PDBE certification with us, we can also submit that hub certification for you so that you can get that along with it. And then so those certifications, we have MBE, which is minority, which is based on race, right? WBE, gender, and small, which is race and gender neutral, but it goes by the SBA side standard. The pin here, the note, the asterisk is our SBE is for construction related industries only, right? Now, moving on to persons with disabilities. So that's anybody who has a disability. This will also be the category where our disabled veterans fall into play, would be the PDBE. So those are basically what we call our local certifications. And when we saw that, when we looked at that bid before, it had MWBE 4% goal, right? So that's what we're talking about. So whoever has the is a prime contractor for that particular solicitation, they would have to subcontract at minimum 4% out to an MWBE firm. So that's how that brings that together. And then you see the other two boxes, the DBE and the ACDBE. Those are for any of the projects or that you see on the City of Houston that have federal funding, right? And so what's important to know that when you engage in our certification process and you see the link at the top, your M, W, S, and PDBE is going to be on one application along with the hub. That DBE and ACDBE is going to be on a separate application. So one platform to register to be certified with us, but two separate applications. The ACDBE and the DBE on one and the others on the other one. And so just to give you an idea of what we look for our certifications, they're always going to be 51%, at least 51% owned of whatever that application is, right? So if it's a minority, an MBE that you're filling out, 51% ownership must be a minority. So that's what that means. And then for DBE, it's going to be the personal net worth. So personal net worth has to be less than 1.32 million. And that does not include the primary residence or the investments in the business owner in that personal net worth to qualify for that DBE. So our certification process goes like this. So you're going to see the pre-certification workshop, which highly recommend that folks attend that, because that's going to walk you through all the different documents that you need. I always tell people there's no shame in my game in telling you we're going to ask for a whole bunch of documents. So it can be confusing with that. So that's why we really encourage you to go to that pre-certification workshop so that they can break that down so that when you do apply for the certification, you know exactly what to upload and where to upload that. So once you submit a complete application, it's going to go through a screening process. And that screening process is going to look and make sure that you did, submit all the different items that's needed. If not, what they're going to do is send you an email. And that email is going to let you know, hey, you forgot to submit your driver's license, submit that. Anytime they send you an email of what was missing or they need further clarification, you have 2 weeks to respond. So whenever you hit submit on that certification application, make sure whatever email you put in there that you are constantly checking that email throughout the process, because if they send you something, they want that information back in 2 weeks. And what you do not want is for your application to expire, which means you'll have to go back and put all those forms and information in again. So just make sure that you are up on it and you're checking that email just in case they have any questions. Once it goes past that pre-screening stage, then you can go to the desk audit. They're checking your references there and some of the other documents, then the financial audit, then the site visit. So some folks, depending on what industry you're in and the type of company you have, they will not actually come out. They may do a virtual site visit with you, and others, they will actually come out to your location. For the most part, if you're in construction, you can count on them coming out to your location. And then once all of that has happened, then it goes up to review for the committee to make a decision, and they will issue out the decision. What's important to know here is that when we're doing the certification process, we're not looking, some folks think, well, I don't have enough money. They're thinking that, we're not making enough money, so we're not going to get the certification. That's not what we're looking for. We are certifying you to say, yes, this person applied for a WBE, does all the information for your company, add that, yes, you are an official company that's doing business, and it is 51% owned and operated by this WBE, right? This woman owned. Does she actually have the executive power in this company? Is she actually not only owning it, but operating it as well? So that's the things that we are checking for, and that's the premise of the certification process. And I can tell you that from the amount of certifications that we process, we are second in the state as far as the certifications that we process. And the only other entity that has more folks certified than us is the state. So The next slide will show you just briefly the areas that we certify in. Those are the categories we use and the number of certified firms. And this is for through September 30th and those areas. And so this can also be used. And if you go to our website, houstontx.gov/OBO, you'll see, like on the right-hand side, you'll see reports. This is where you can find the information to, again, for your research to know, okay, so if you look at it, you can see, okay, architecture and engineering, there's about 360 firms. If this is your space, okay, 40%, 40 of them have been used, 11%. The average amount they're making with the city of Houston doing business with us is $240,000. That helps you to say, you know what, is this something that I want to invest in? Do I really want to do business with the city that and use my certification for that? That just kind of gives you an idea of the opportunity that exists. So it's just another way for you to do your certification and do your research in it. Also, some folks might not use the certification to do business with us, but they might use their certification to do business with other government entities. Some folks use it just as a way to validate their business. However way you want to use your certification, this is just the background information, because anytime you are getting something and you're giving your information to get something, you want to have a plan of why you're using it, right? And so that's just a little tidbit. And the next slide is just some more information. Those goals that I talked about, you'll see that there, talked about earlier, but it kind of gives you more insight on the award process in doing business with the city. And it breaks it down as far as prime and self-performing. I know it may be small for some eyes because it's kind of small for mine too. And I think mine are pretty good, but they're kind of small. But anyway, one thing I want to point out is that we do have self-performance. And what that means is if you do business with the city of Houston as a certified firm, go back to that example earlier, we talked about $1 million contract with a 34% goal. So if you're a certified firm and you win the contract as a prime and it has that 34% goal, because you are certified, you don't have to subcontract out that full 34%. You can self-perform up to half of it and then subcontract out the other half. So that's just a benefit of another benefit of being certified with the city of Houston. And we can go to the next slide just to kind of wrap everything up. These are the websites that I've mentioned earlier, with the exception of that second one on the first bullet. You see our website where you can go to find out more information about our resources that we have. Also, if you are performing on a contract and maybe something's not going oh so great, you can contact that contract compliance officer so they can act on your behalf and make sure that you are being utilized appropriately according to that contract. But also that second point is that is basically breaks down what I explained earlier of how to do business with the city of Houston, that COH Procurement 101. It has a list of training videos that will walk you through the process of doing business with the city. If you just kind of want to take it step by step, because I gave you a high level view. So that will walk you through that. Then also you have the website of SPD, where we kind of broke it down, the supplier forms, vendor registration, all that. You'll have that there. And they also have various different informational videos that will help you and answer any questions that you have. And then the last three websites are those three departments that we talked about earlier, the major buying departments of the city of Houston. They list their own bids there. Keep in mind that any bid that you see listed at HPW or GSD or the airport system, there's also going to be included in the SPD site, but this is just another way. If you say, you know what, airport is all I care about, then you can just go right there to the airport website and see all their bids listed. But just know that you have multiple ways to access those bidding opportunities at those websites. And then lastly is one of my favorite events, because I feel like it pulls in everything that we do every year. And that's the Meet the Buyer Procurement Forum. And so it happens every year in December, typically the first or second Tuesday of December. And that's where we bring in all the procurement agents of those major buying departments and some other buying departments as well. We'll have HR there, all the other ones that are seeking to meet our certified firms and those who wish to be certified, because we want to make sure that we have an opportunity for you to meet these folks, because they don't do a lot of outreach, right? Because they're out processing various different solicitations and other things. So this is a chance for you to get face to face, to ask them about what's coming down in the pipeline. Also, what are they looking for, when they are looking to do business with subcontractors or even prime contractors. And again, prime contractors will be there as well who have city contracts, and they are looking for subcontractors. And not to mention, we will have our business support organizations, which are our partners in this ecosystem that we have, who have various resources, whether it's counseling services, whether it's funding, all these different things. Everybody is there at one time, and the whole purpose is to make sure that our certified firms have every single thing that you need in order to succeed in government procurement, whether you want to do procurement in business with the city or with the state, other local agencies, or federal government. Everybody is there under one roof, and we're there to service you and make sure you have what you need. And we also combine some other different sessions that will hit on different opportunities for you in the procurement space, but also to always focus on networking, because you have to build your network. You have to have a business support organizations also in your network, as well as other small businesses and professional organizations that are going to help you and assist you in this. And so just look out for that on our website. That will become available. We'll probably announce the date around September, and you'll be able to register for it. And just know that everything that I described today that the Office of Business Opportunity does is at no financial cost to you. Is just to help you and to be an advocate for you, to make sure that you have the opportunity, but also that you're prepared for the opportunity as well. And so with that, I'll end it and take any questions that people have, and feel free to connect with us on our social media pages that you see on that particular slide.
Thank you so much, Dr. PJ. That was an absolutely amazing presentation. A lot of great information given, and I really did appreciate when you encouraged all of our attendees to be proactive and not just sit around waiting on something, but be proactive and anticipate when it's coming out. So I mean, that makes all the difference in the world. But we have quite a few questions in the chat, so I'm going to ask both Jessica and Diedra to come off mute and start from the top in asking some of these questions, because again, you all are blowing this chat up and I'm loving every minute of it. I see your questions and we are about to get to them now. So Ms. Vasquez and Ms. Sutton, please take the floor.
Okay, thank you. One participant wants to know how to locate the different departments within the city.
Absolutely. So one way you can do is go to the city's website, which is houstontx.gov. You'll see a search bar. You can put in departments, and it'll bring up a list of all of the city departments, including the link, as well as an email address for the director. What's really key about that is that email address, it will go to someone in that department who has to submit a response at a certain time. So that person will be able to direct you to whomever you need to talk to in that department and be able to assist you there.
Okay. And another participant wants to know, how can you check if you are an existing vendor?
So to be an existing vendor, you would have to have completed a vendor profile. So I would believe that you would know because of the information you have to submit, that you registered your business for the city of Houston. But I know life happens and you may forget. So you would go and click on that button, and it will list, you can put in the information and you can see if you have a vendor profile. If not, then you want to register for that. And if you have already been a vendor, you kind of remember something about it, then that's when you want to send that email to Houston Purchasing at houstontx.gov, and they can provide you more information on your profile and let you know when you completed, or if maybe you started it, you don't remember if you actually submitted it.
Yes, that happens. Is there any certification that is required as a business to bid with the city of Houston? And I think that was your slide 15.
Yes, and you do not have to be certified to do business with the city of Houston.
Okay. All right. Where can an architect engineering firm find opportunities?
A&E firms can find opportunities just like everybody else by going to houstontx.gov/bidswithyou. Also, if you're looking for opportunities with Public Works or the airport or general services, those websites that I provided will take you directly to the opportunities they have for A&Es there.
Okay. And they want to know if you are certified with the state as a DBE, do you need to register with city as a DBE? And that was confusing to me.
So you wouldn't have to reapply for our DBE because we do it on behalf of TxDOT. So it would just, so the answer is, if you have done it locally, no. But if you have a DBE from somewhere else, another state, then you would have to complete the form and we would work and do a transfer process with that.
Okay, so they'd have to redo that DBE application and work with you guys to get it here as well.
Yes.
Okay. All righty. The next one is, the certification renewals only allow you to renew 30 days prior to expiration. Will that be changing or what?
I haven't heard anything whether or not that will be changing. But yeah, that is true.
Right. So you can't access the system until 30 days before.
To renew.
Okay.
Yes.
No, no problem. When is the next workshop?
Workshop or what?
Certification. I'm thinking for the
Oh,
workshops.
certification. Okay, so certification workshops, the pre-certification workshop happens every first and third Tuesday of the month. So I want to say in 2 weeks, I think next Tuesday is still April, so the week after that will be the next one. Just keep in mind, on the first Tuesday, it's virtual only. On the third Tuesday, you have an option of in-person or virtual. Either way, you must register prior to attending one of those workshops, and that can be done on our website.
Mm.
What is the process for an out-of-state business to apply or qualify for the MBE?
So you would have to prove that you have significant presence in the city of Houston to be certified by us for the MBE. And so one way is, do you have an office here at the city? Is one of the ways to prove that. But the burden of proof is going to be on you as the applicant, but you would have to show that you have significant presence here in the city in order for us to certify you. And keep in mind, when I say presence in the city, we service 10 counties. So that includes presence in any one of those 10 counties.
Okay. What is the email to request the link to transfer an existing vendor account to the new system? I saw it on one of your slides.
Yes, that is Houston Purchasing at houstontx.gov.
Would you repeat it just in case they're writing it down?
Sure. Houston Purchasing.
Let me see.
Oh yeah, there you go. There it is. At the bottom, Houston Purchasing at houstontx.gov.
Yeah, you could take a screenshot with the phone, whatever. Okay, what is the email to oh, I'm sorry. uh, we're definitely gonna get a copy of the presentation, everybody. Thank you for the compliments. Oh, would you suggest the same level or method of research for professional service contracts?
Yes, I suggest the same method of research for any type of business you're doing in general.
Okay. And then somebody just had a question about the status of their DBE. And we did provide that step-by-step thing. You know, they applied last year for their DBE. And so they just had a question
Okay.
about that. And so, okay. Okay. Oh, if you are contacted by a prime to sub, how do you vet them, especially if they are not located in the city?
That is a good question. Because you could be contacted from a prime from another state to work on a contract that has nothing to do with the city. That does happen a lot if they're looking to get a contract and they have to have someone certified. They may reach out to you for that. I think you just have to do your due diligence and see if that website matches. Also, wherever state that they're in, see if the process for them to be registered as a business, that is on file with that particular state. But yeah, I would just say do your due diligence, go to that website, make sure that they're an actual business, ask some questions of them that will help you to determine if they're an actual business. But you'll have to probably elect your own vetting process for that. If they have actually submitted something for the city of Houston, you can always give us a call. But just because they reach out to you might not mean that they have a contract with the city. They might be pursuing a contract with the city. And so they may have not submitted anything to us. But those will be my recommendations. But you can always reach out to us and we can guide you on that process and let you know some things that we can help you with on our side.
Okay. This one wanted us to go back to see the 4 types of opportunities, and then the last slide with the social media handles. So this is the first one. I guess they could take a picture of it, but that basically explains itself, but maybe the RFP thing. Okay. Quick repeat of the P3K, except they wanted you to quickly repeat the 4. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So the P card is the credit card. So that's just basically having that relationship with someone in that department if they're looking for something, because it's not going to be anything public that they're going to say we're looking for, this particular product or service. You have the informal bids, that's the amount there, 3 to less than 50,000. Those will be for the most part on the website publicly. And then the formal bid will be publicly, and then the RFP, again, that's for professional services. So anything that requires a professional license will be issued out as a RFP, and that's where it's more of submit how you would render this product or render this service to us based on your expertise.
And they would like to see the last slide with the social media handles. There you go. And give you time to take a picture, but this presentation will be sent to everyone who participates.
There is another question, says, can you apply for HUB if you are not a USA citizen?
I believe that is no. Keep in mind with us, we will submit your information for the hub when you apply for one of our other certifications. If you're just looking for the hub, you can't go through us. You would have to go through either another agency that does offer the hub certification or go to the state directly.
Okay.
That's our possible, right? That's not the certification that we have. That's our possible.
Right. Do I need a cage code to register with the City of Houston?
No.
Do you allow requests for capability briefings with buyers?
You'd have to ask that buyer. I can give you the general answer, and that's no, but you can ask that buyer.
Does the new procurement site send automatic emails of bid alerts to register vendors based upon commodity codes?
Yes. So if you've put in your NIGP code and there is a solicitation that matches your code, it will send you an alert that, hey, there's an opportunity aligned with your NIGP code that's available.
Yeah, this person would go under the special requirement. I find it difficult to locate those opportunities that focus on team building for the city. Any recommendations or insights?
Yes, that is definitely one that you're not going to find that's going to be up for bid. That's going to go back into that P card level where you'll have to make some relationships, build some relationships with the departments in regards to team building, because that's going to be on a department basis. And so you'll need to build some relationships with the department to see if they do have team building exercises and what that looks like for them. But no, you're probably not going to ever see that as a bid, because there's never going to, for the amount, it's not going to be something that this whole 22,000 employees engage in team building. That's not going to happen.
And here's a good question, Dr. PJ. After your application has been approved and it is in the review stage, is the timing for final approval 6 months?
The 6 months starts after you've hit that submit button for the application and we've received it. So keep in mind that could your process be more than 6 months? Yes, it could, because anytime they have to ask you for additional information, then that kind of puts the pause on that 6 month time frame until you submit that information and they access it again to continue the process.
Do you have any classes or resources for those that may need assistance with actually processing a bid with the city?
We don't do that because it could be a conflict of interest on our part, but Apex Accelerator can definitely help you. Do y'all do that as well?
No, not the bidding process.
Not the bidding process. Okay, so Apex Accelerator will be your best bet, and they can help you with the bid for the city, local, and state and federal. But we do not sit down and help folks to prepare a bid for our bid, because that could be a conflict of interest.
Yes. Okay, who do you contact to inquire about P card opportunities?
So that's where you want to, someone asked the question earlier, how you get in contact with the various different departments. So you want to go to the City of Houston's website, put in that search field departments, and then you'll see the listing of all the different departments. I would, again, hit that research and making sure that you see what that department does. And if there's opportunity, then you reach out to them and ask for a meeting, or ask, I see that you all posed in some departmental shirts. When's the next time you all going to to order new shirts because I provide shirts. You know, that's how you would have to approach it. But that was going to require you to build that relationship with that department to determine what needs they have available that are going to be at that P card level.
And then we're going to take these last two questions because we're slightly over our time, but these last two. So one is, what is the advantage of having a hub certification over all other certifications?
Hub is for the state. So anytime you're doing business with state institutions, that's colleges, universities, medical center, things like that, they're going to ask for hub certification. They're not going to ask for your MBE. They're not going to ask for your WBE. They're going to ask for hub certification. So it's a hub, it's the certification for state projects.
Okay, and then this last question, on the Ariba site, can you explain what the respond to button does, and how do I let that system know I'm interested in a particular bid?
So the respond to is the button that you would push when you're ready to submit the actual bid for that solicitation. And if you're interested, then we know that you're interested when you come to the pre-bid meeting.
And so that's how she lets the system know that she's interested in that particular. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you again so much, Dr. PJ. This has been extremely informative. I took a whole bunch of notes. Look, and I already have the presentation. Isn't that something? But again, that just goes to show the value that Dr. PJ and the City of Houston has in terms of this work and this process. So again, thank you so much to all of our attendees. We thank you all for participating, all 112 of you who I saw on air. My goodness.
Yay.
Yes, exactly. Thank you all so very much. We do appreciate all of you. And so it is now 12:33. So we will let Dr. PJ go. I know she has some of everything going on. So thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
All righty.